Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Brain Podcast. Today's episode is all about pondering. Before we start on the podcast, though, I wanted to let you know that I have opened, or I will have opened, enrollment May 1st, just for a few days. And this is for the first time that I'm opening up enrollment into my brain health and longevity program. This program is usually just open for my one-on-one coaching clients. It is actually a bonus that I grant my one-on-one coaching clients too. I grant them access to this. But because I have received such great feedback from my clients about the program, I needed to offer it to you. And I thought, well, for this month of May, I'm going to be offering it, and I hope that you take me up on the offer. You'll find the link for information about the two different choices. There's a monthly subscription, or there's which you can cancel at any time, or there's a 6-month, which is really the best price. Really reasonable. But let me just tell you a little bit about the program. It is a digital-based program that gives you video modules and teachings about regarding 6 health and lifestyle areas that include, and the areas that affect the brain health and physical health, such as modules about nutrition, exercise, yoga, meditation, breath work, sleep, mindset. I actually have yoga classes in there. I have meditation, breath work exercise, breath work meditations, as well as I'll be adding more in as I grow this platform. Not only do you get over 20 or 25 videos right now, but you get access to weekly live teachings and live group coaching that I do, that I come on. Usually it's Mondays around 10 a.m., but it's all recorded, so you can definitely, if you join, you can watch the replay. And I love doing these lives because it helps me connect with the participants. I answer questions in real time. There's mini challenges and monthly areas of focus that I guide participants through. For the month of April, it was, what were we doing? It was movement. So planning and scheduling different types of exercise and the importance of different types of exercise with brain health, and also talking about the obstacles that people encounter. For this month of May, we're going to be focusing on habits and routines, and that I'll be doing deep dives every Monday, and then we just give everybody pick something that they're going to work on, and then they can come back the next Monday to report on it if they want to. So some people just watch the videos, some people participate, so it's really very easygoing. And like I said, I'll be adding more. I'll be putting more and more time into adding more videos, especially for yoga and meditation, and also stress management. So I'm really excited about that. So make sure you take a look at the show notes and even just join for a month and see what you think. All right, now let's talk about this pondering. So I've been pondering about the word pondering. I've seen it in different things that I've read. I've read a devotional, a Bible verse, or it's in the Bible a few times, pondering. And I love the word ponder. And I thought about it. What does it really mean? And I looked it up. I did the search. It really means to think about things, not just to think about things, but it's to do it quietly, somberly, and deeply. So you may be wondering, like, why is this a brain skill that we should develop, this pondering? And I'm going to share that with you right now and that's why you're listening. Why do we want to create and cultivate this skill of pondering? So what we want to do is, well, let me just give a little background on and ask you a question. When is the last time that you've let yourself be quiet and deeply think about things? I know that my old past self, like just a few years ago, quite well, 8, 10 years ago, I didn't do this. As a busy mom raising 4 kids, it was go, go all the time. But somewhere along the journey of raising my 4 kids, I want to say the kids were like in somewhere elementary, middle school, and high school. I have the four kids, so they ranged. I literally had the 3 different schools going at one point. I realized I needed quiet time. So I carved out time to ponder. But at that time, I definitely did not say I was pondering. I just wanted quiet time with no disruptions. And it was usually, I would say 99% of the time, I carved out the time in the early morning before anyone else in the house was awake. This really was my intentional morning routine. And speaking of that, that is one course that is part of the Brain Health and Longevity program. I have put my intentional morning course in that program so you get access to it, where I break it down how to really create a morning routine that is appropriate for you, and you can curate it to fit your needs. So I was doing this a few years ago, and it's developed into something that I hold sacred. I take at least an hour in the morning, and you may think, ooh, that's a lot of time. But I take the time, and it's like this morning, it was 2 hours. I carve out the time because for me, this is what I need. Now, I also take time to ponder during the daytime. And I want to share why it's important to ponder, why it's important for your brain. So one of the important reasons, really the main big reason that it's important for the brain, is that it gives our brain time to pause and think. In our busy culture right now, just think of it. We have such a high amount of information coming at us, and we think that we need to respond and react right away. Like, how often do you get a text and you think, oh, I got to respond right away? It becomes this like reaction, like we just have to respond right away. But our brain actually needs some time, not a lot of time, but it needs some time to make this switch. And so I want to talk now about what switch I'm talking, what it is that I'm talking about. It's literally this switch in brain areas that are activated. So we want to give our brain pause and time to think so our prefrontal cortex can activate. The prefrontal cortex is the CEO of the brain. It's in charge, and it's like located here in the front, prefrontal. It's in charge of planning, organizing, problem solving, attention, memory. There's quite a few skills. What happens in many brains, which are in chronic stress, which are many of the people, the clients that I see, and you don't even realize that you're in chronic stress. It's just in this background of like just feeling like, oh, you're in the doing mode. It's really the primitive brain is highly active. The amygdala, that's the area that's highly active when someone is in chronic stress. And you might have heard of the fight, flight, and freeze. What's happening is the amygdala is active and it's on high alert, scanning for danger. That's what this limbic primitive brain is in charge of, really. That's what it's doing, its job. It's just scanning, keeping you on alert. The problem is there's an inverse relationship between the amygdala, this primitive brain, and the prefrontal cortex. When the amygdala is high, the prefrontal cortex is, when the amygdala is highly active, the prefrontal cortex is weakly active, like it's low activity versus high activity. Inversely, when the amygdala is in low activity, the prefrontal cortex is in high activity. And remember, we want this prefrontal cortex to be active when we need to problem solve, when we need to plan, when we need to organize, when we need to do things and sort through and ponder on things. If you are chronically stressed, your brain can't make decisions. Maybe you're experiencing this now, where when you're in a stressed situation, or maybe it's this chronic stress and you're having difficulty sleeping, making decisions, calming the brain down, it's because this amygdala is highly active, and we need to dampen it and increase the activity of the prefrontal cortex. When we take time to pause and ponder, this allows the switch to happen from a high amygdala and low prefrontal cortex to a high prefrontal cortex and a low amygdala. This is the switch I'm talking about. This is the switch that I believe, in my years of working with clients, coaching clients, and also my years working with patients who have traumatic brain injury. This area in the brain injured patient, they are definitely more impulsive, more reactive. They have damage to the prefrontal cortex. They have difficulty in regulating their responses because of that damage to the prefrontal cortex. However, in my experience, that I've been able to work with them in applying these, in practicing the skills that we're going to go through. And this helps them to get into a mode of pondering. And the mode of pondering allows the switch to happen. And in my coaching clients who don't have the brain injury, these are coaching clients who are worried about their brain health. They want to live vibrant, energetic lives. Possibly some of them have Alzheimer's or dementia in their family history. But because brain health is becoming such an important topic, my clients are looking for ways to keep their brain healthy. And the skills of pondering, which I'll share in a moment, can help the brain to stay calm and grounded and balanced. So it's not in this highly reactive mode and this stressed out mode that many people have found that they're in this reaction mode. Like they get a text, they get an email, they got to respond right away. I have to let people know what I'm thinking right away, instead of sitting back and maybe problem solving and allowing that prefrontal cortex to activate. Now, and I'm not saying, oh, I 100%, my prefrontal cortex is always active and I'm never feeling the amygdala activation. No, I have a human brain, and we have to remember that it is doing its job, but we want it to shift back from it's having this shift and being able to flow back and forth from, and have this flexibility of our brain is doing, it's keeping us safe by noticing where the dangers are and on alert, but can it also shift back to more of the balanced and grounding state? So I hope that that explained my perspective of looking at how pondering and why pondering is important for the brain, because it allows your brain time to maximize on using different parts of the brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex. And another way to think of pondering is, well, just thinking about thinking. It's sort of a metacognition principle. And we think it's a luxury to just, oh, sit and think for a while. And I'm not saying that you have to do any of these tasks, well, they're not even tasks, these activities for a long time. You don't have to do it. 5 minutes is really can make such an impact, and that will allow the switch to happen. Now, if you've read Mel Robbins' book, I'm talking about the first book. I believe it was her first book, The 5 Second Rule. It's similar to that premise of the 5 second rule, where she explained how when she counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, she was able to get out of bed and get going with her activities. Previous to that, she was just like not wanting to do anything. She lacked motivation. And she explained, as they found further, as she was doing this and more people were actually doing the simple thing of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it takes literally 5 seconds or less to count down. It allows the brain to make that switch from the not like sort of the freeze mode or the fight mode or the fawn, whichever one you're in, to an activation mode. So that's really that pause. And that's what I'm talking about. So you definitely can use that 5 second rule. I would recommend trying it out. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big breath, and then get on and stand up and do what you want to do. So that's like that's a little sidebar. But back to this pondering. So we know why it's important for the brain. I always like to give the brain science. But how can we ponder more, but not, of course, you don't have to spend 1 hour or 2 hours. So I know I mentioned that I have a morning routine. My morning routine consists of quite a few things. Pondering is just maybe 10, 15 minutes of it. But there's different types of ways to cultivate and work on the skill of pondering. Here are some of the top 5. So there could be more, but I'll give you 5. One is meditation. So what I'm going to explain here in the 5, it's not, some of them are that you actually ponder, but with meditation, you're not actually pondering on your thoughts, because meditation, you want to focus in on either, it can be a word, a mantra, your breath. You're focused on the present moment. But it's a skill. If you want to develop the skill of concentration, of thinking, of that, the initial definition that I gave was deeply thinking about things, somberly, quietly. So these skills, these 5 skills, are actually helping you to ponder, to help you make that switch over to the prefrontal cortex. So one is meditation. I think almost every episode, I probably mention meditation. I think everyone should practice meditation, and it doesn't have to be long, 5 minutes. I like Insight Timer. I like putting on, for myself, I put nature sounds, and I just focus on my breath, inhale, exhale. That's more of a Vipassana meditation, of breath focused, of just not even focusing on an inhale for 4 and exhale for 8. It's more of just being observant of myself in the present moment. But there's different ways to meditate. So what you want to do is cultivate a practice of meditation, of focusing on your breath, a mantra, a body scan, guided meditation, and this will help you in the skill of pondering, of thinking. Another skill that can help you and actually support pondering is journaling. And journaling, it can have a great impact. You can get journal prompts and write out your thoughts, answering a question to a journal prompt. It could be how you're feeling today, what's bothering you, what is going well, what you're grateful for. Allowing yourself to write and using a pen and paper, not just the computer, not your phone, but actually writing it out in long form can help access this pondering where you're thinking about something quietly and deeply. If another skill, I was going to connect it to journaling, but it really is something separate, is asking yourself questions. WH questions, I say, like who, what, when, where, why, maybe even how. But adding, if you're thinking like, well, I'd like to think more. If you're thinking, I'd like to think more, or I'd like to just cultivate this pondering, or having maybe something that you're questioning, or you're not able to problem solve, ask yourself what questions, because it shifts you into curiosity. And that allows you to deeply think. When you ask yourself, I wonder what could happen if blank, or I wonder why blank. So it's sort of like a contemplation, WH questions. You could even use the WH questions when you're journaling as well. You could sort of bundle them together. The fourth skill is formal mindfulness activities. Now, as I was talking through this whole episode, I was tempted to say pondering is sort of like mindfulness, which it sort of is. But I wanted to use the word ponder because to me, it holds a deeper meaning of deeply thinking, quietly, somberly. But as a skill to develop pondering, you could look at applying and practicing formal mindfulness activities. Some examples would be mindful walking. As you're walking, noticing things around you. Instead of listening, now I'm all for listening to a podcast or an audiobook when you're walking to get those steps in, but maybe part of it, you turn off the audio and you allow yourself to think and to ponder and to think about walking, or to think about something that you're mulling around in your mind, trying to come up with a solution. Now, another type of mindfulness activity is mindful eating. I have to admit, I have a not so healthy habit of eating while I watch TV. I like to watch a show. Sometimes, if no one's available for dinner, I'll just grab my plate and I'll watch a TV show. And I used to make it where, oh, this isn't very good that I should do it. But now I'm like, it's my downtime and I'm okay with that. But it doesn't lead to mindful eating. So mindful eating would be, if I wanted to really practice mindful eating, I would sit at the table and just not look at my phone. I would just sit and chew my food, notice the food. Also, there's mindful listening when you're talking with someone, really listening to what they're saying versus thinking of how you're going to respond. Now, these mindfulness activities help you in the skill of paying attention so you're able to ponder. The last skill is daydreaming. Daydreaming allows our brain to sort of float away and really relaxes our brain and daydreaming can take many forms. Like you can daydream about a trip that you have coming up, daydream about a certain outcome you would like to see happen. But the daydreaming just allows your brain to, it sort of taps into creativity, which in itself is accessing different parts of the brain as well. So with these skills, or with the skill of pondering, thinking about things quietly, somberly, deeply. And these different skills, the meditation, journaling, asking yourself questions, mindfulness activities, daydreaming, these are all done usually quietly. And it allows your brain to go into this deeper state of thinking. And it gives your brain this a little bit more, really a break. So the last thing I wanted to share is when we're in our doing mode, our brain waves are in beta. So they're quite a high and low amplitude. It's up and down like a wavelength. If we had little sensors on our brain, the brain would be going up, the waves would be up and down quite high in amplitude because we're highly active. Our brain is highly active. And when we allow ourselves to go into a meditation, daydreaming, it goes from the beta to the delta. Now, the real slow is the theta, but it slows the amplitude down, and we can see it that it's like a lower valley. No, it's not as low of a valley as the beta. So it sort of smooths out the curve, and the valley sort of smooths out a little more. What that shows to us is the brain activity sort of calms down. Our brain calms down. And all of those activities, the meditation, the journaling, the mindfulness, the daydreaming, those all help our brain to lower our brain wavelength. So we're not always do, and we're able to just relax and calm the brain. So that's like a little sciencey part as well. I hope you will try meditation. Out of all of them, meditation is going to be so great. But also, if you are meditating, but maybe you're resistant to journaling, try the journaling. So let me know what you pick. Also, I hope to see you in the Brain Health and Longevity program. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you later.